Diamond, Garcia versus Canelo fight. You had Canelo versus Scull today, and you have UFC Iowa that's going on as well on the very same night as Canelo is fighting. Of course, Canelo is always fighting whenever the UFC is on, right? It just seems like one of those standard procedures at this point. But also, right now, Body Jack just won by a unanimous decision against, what is this guy's name? Some Armenian guy. How do you pronounce his name, Zane? Mikhailian. Okay, so Jack just won by decision against Mikhailian in the co-main event against Canelo Alvarez. What was that?
I'm gonna jump on the thing, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Zane is about to jump on and join us in just a second right now, while we also break down all of these fights. So also on this very same night, as I was telling you guys, obviously we have UFC as well going on. Okay, we got UFC going on, Sandhagen versus Figueiredo, which is an interesting fight in and of itself. Obviously, during the night of Canelo, let's go into the results of the whole entire fight card right here. Okay, let's go through the entire fight card. So one of the surprising fights that we saw, obviously, was against Martin Bakolee and Hefe Ajagba. That went to a draw. I was very surprised by that. A 6-round fight between Brian Leon and Aaron Guerrero. That went to a 6-round decision on the favor of Brian Leon. Now, how about this? Richard Riakporhe, in his UFC debut, where he made Espindola quit just right in between the third and fourth round, right? Or at least it was the fourth round and whatnot. But yeah, he was going to do an 8th rounder for this on his heavyweight debut. Now, I believe this was one of the fights in the beginning of the night. Marco Verdi takes on Michel Polena. This was obviously a pro debut on the part of Marco Verdi, and here he is. He just finished off Polena right there. 2 hard body shots. He goes down, and right after the third one, or I'm sorry, right after the second one, Verdi just goes and swarms on him and beats him down. Well, you know what? Polina made a pretty good account of himself for a journeyman that got knocked down in the first 30 seconds. But nonetheless, great performance for Marco Verdi to finish it off all in the first round. And then obviously, Muhammad Al-Akil, now becoming more of a staple in these Saudi boxing cards because he is a Saudi-based boxer. Now, a couple of things that I had mentioned about this particular fighter in terms of Akil, right? What's interesting about him here, we have Zain Musa joining us right now. So give him a warm welcome. He now joins us in this video on this Canelo versus Scull night. Also on the same night that UFC Iowa is going on right now. We're going to cover all of that. So Muhammad Akil, right? As I was saying earlier, he has a Scottish coach. I believe his name is Gallagher. Is that right, Zane?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta turn up your volume a little bit.
Can you hear me, bro?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Okay. Sorry about that. So yeah, a bit of a UK centric style that the Saudis are going after, right? You look at the way that they present their boxing, right? It's a lot more of British boxing than it is American boxing, even though they have a lot of influence with American boxing. I mean, for crying out loud, last night they brought back Jim Lampley, right? HBO commentator OG, Jim Lampley. Doesn't get any more American boxing than that. But on another regard, obviously, if they're going to build up a fighter like Muhammad Akil, they're going to go with a British trainer, right? With the likes of Gallagher, because that's who they have great relationships with. They have great relationships with Eddie Hearn, great relationships with Frank Warren. And speaking of great relationships with Frank Warren and
Mm.
UK fighters. How about Hamzah Sheeraz, man? Let's talk about this right now, right before we get
Mm.
to all the fights, and including the main event of the evening. What do you think about Hamzah Sheeraz and his departure recently with what's his name, Ricky Fuentes? What do you think about that?
To be honest,
This is a good idea, or are there some other reasons behind why he's doing this, or does he feel that this is the best course of action to take in his career right
I just think he got too comfortable with Ricky Funes, and he needed a change. Especially during that fight when I think on Ricky Funes' part, he made a big major mistake, which is obviously given the fact that Hamza started well, it doesn't mean to say he was winning the fight during the midpoint of that round of that fight. Do you get what I'm saying? It was a
now?
very close fight. Everyone had their opinions, and it was a very close fight at that point. So him saying that he's winning the fight probably made Hamzah Sheeraz less eager to, you know, go forward, going with a hand that was injured. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
there wasn't no sense of urgency. So, I think that was a big mistake on Ricky Funes' part, and it was a crucial mistake because, it could have been a possibility where Hamza detrimentally could lose that fight, but he didn't. He got the draw, and yeah, and I think that's what kind of stemmed why he left Ricky Funes, because of that mistake.
yeah, man. I think there's this huge stigma in professional sports, right?
Mm.
Oftentimes, what happens is that they let go of, let's say, a coach too soon, right? Let's say if a Premier League team was winning last year and all of a sudden they're not winning this year, now all of a sudden they want to take up this position where, all right, well, you know what? We're not going to mess with this guy anymore. We don't think that this guy is good for us anymore. So
Yeah.
just based on these mistakes alone, we're going to let him go, and that'll be that, right? I don't necessarily agree with that
Mm.
type of culture, right? But
Yeah.
unfortunately, that type of culture is also very much present now in the world of professional boxing, as it always has been to a certain degree, right? It
Yeah.
always has been like where one particular loss is somehow going to change or alter your particular choice of coaches. And
Mm.
I don't know, man. It's just a very one-sided idea, right? Not really sometimes taking full account of everything, right? Not necessarily saying that like it should be
Mm.
one person's fault over the other or anything like that, but there's just not a
Yeah.
lot of accountability in that. Speaking of accountability, the
Yeah.
next topic that I want to get to, right?
Mm.
What do you think about the failure of Ryan Garcia last night? Right, it was a huge failure on his part.
Bro,
We all
obviously.
expected him to win.
Mm. Yeah.
Turkey up shape, and the entire uh, Riyadh season uh, basically created a video game, Fatal Fury Street Fighter like video of Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. Now, I know that's entertaining for the fans. I know that's great, but if you're Raleigh Romero, wouldn't a
Yeah.
part of you be so offended at the fact that, you know what? These people ain't showing me any respect whatsoever. They think that they're just going to walk through me and this is going to be an easy win and he's going to get up out of here. That's the thought process of, yeah, that's the thought process of everybody that was involved in this fight.
Mm. Obviously, bro, that was a huge upset yesterday. But at the same time, we got to give Rolando Romero credit because, he proved everyone wrong. And You know, Ryan Garcia, he was obviously he was on steroids in his last fight against not the last fight. I think the fight before that against Devin Haney, and now we saw a different side to him where he's not on it no more. And I think that showed yesterday. You know, not to take anything away from Rolly's performance. Well done to him. You know, I can clearly see that he's not on the steroids anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I
Hence
think
why
that
the
is
big
the
upset.
significant difference, isn't it? Is the
That's facts,
lack
bro.
of steroids. What was that?
That's facts, bro. I said, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Lack of steroids.
Because he's already failed that one time against Devin Haney. He was on eggshells this time, so he had to be very careful
Hmm.
about,
Of course.
yeah, really stepping in here and not getting caught again. Because getting caught again, I mean, could lead not only to a suspension but perhaps maybe a lifetime ban. And as a
Yeah,
result
fact.
of that, it would alter his career in a very negative way. But speaking of career altering events, would you say that this is career altering, or is Raleigh Romero really up there in terms of just being able to beat Ryan Garcia? Or would you toss this up as, well, you know what? This is just a matter
Put it
of,
put
you
it
know,
this way. I
skill
wouldn't want to see a
performance.
rematch based on that performance yesterday.
You want to see a rematch?
I don't want to because I
You don't
think
want to see a rematch, okay?
Rolly's style is just too awkward for Ryan. You know, Ryan couldn't seem to get his timing,
Yeah,
and I think the power of Rolly because they moved up in weight, both of them, was a telling factor. You know, do you know what I
correct.
mean? But what the interesting question is, are you still interested in seeing Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney, or would you see Devin Haney versus Rolly next?
Uh,
Because I
I
wasn't too impressed with Devin Haney as well.
I think Devin Haney and Raleigh are probably
Mm.
more of an interesting matchup at this point, in all
Yeah.
honesty, right? It's a much more
Mm.
interesting matchup. Not only is it a much more interesting matchup, it's also the right competitive architecture that we need to take a look at, right?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
look, I know that it's a lot more glamorizing to get Ryan and Devin Haney up in there again, right? There's a built-in story. They got everything going for them in terms of that built-in story. There's built-in hatred. There's all of these things that are factoring in that we
Mm.
have to take into consideration. But also, one thing that we got to take into serious consideration is the fact that Raleigh won last night, and
Mm.
also so did Devin Haney. So we have to
Okay.
put them together
Yeah.
rather than trying to create these matchups that are just silver medal matches, for lack of a better term, right? But in reality,
Mm.
I mean, none of them are really, like top level diamond champions right now, right? I mean, at best,
Yeah.
these guys are like interim or regular champions.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next, especially after Ryan Garcia lost that fight and Haney not looking spectacularly too good himself, you know. But nevertheless, Haney did what he had to do to win. And yeah, you're right. There is a narrative to see Rowley instead of Haney. You know, um, Garcia fighting Haney again instead of Rowley. But yeah, personally, I think you're right. I think I would rather see Haney against Rowley because it just makes sense to see it because of the styles as well, the way they fight. It's gonna be a very technical fight.
Right, right. Were there any other fights last night that you were impressed by? Obviously, Devin Haney last night had his fight against Ramirez. What did you think about that? You know what? That fight, I predicted that
Mm.
fight exactly as it was going to go. I said that
Yeah,
Devin
you got that
Haney
one.
going
I
into the
saw that.
fight, He was going to be a little bit more reluctant. He was going to take his time, and a lot of people were going to complain about his decision of sort of taking his time and really trying to fight as methodical as he can. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
personally, I think, you know, every fighter has different attributes and strengths in it. Haney's strength is to box, and that's exactly what he was doing, and he's just playing to his advantages, which is he's the better boxer. Ramirez was obviously trying to walk him down, and the best thing for Haney to do is to box him on the back foot and keep his footwork up, and you know, which he did, and he did land some shots as well. But ultimately, when you're boxing, people don't like that style because it's a hit and not a get hit sort of style. But the pure boxers or the pure boxing fans, you can say they really appreciate the skill. It's not easy, you know. So yeah,
I
man,
certainly
Haney
appreciate the
played
skill
to
for it, for sure. Yeah, I
yeah.
definitely did. I
I
do
mean,
hear a lot of
people that say that was boring and that they just don't enjoy boxing. They enjoy like a toe-to-toe battle, and I get that, but the name of the game is boxing, isn't it? And yeah, Haney did that to a T yesterday. I mean, it was a bit competitive, but it was a clear win for Devin Haney, you know. So I think he really kind of learned from that Garcia fight because he can he is a bit vulnerable at times, so he just playing to his advantages to just box, to be honest. And we could clearly see not Barbosa, Ramirez was clearly the more powerful puncher in there. So he had to be on the back foot, you know?
yeah. And also Teofimo Lopez and Arnold Barbosa Jr. I had
Yeah.
predicted that one correctly. The only one that I didn't predict correctly in this fight was obviously Ryan Garcia and Romero. I had Ryan Garcia winning this one before the fight. Okay, like I thought that hey, before the fight he was going to win this, but I
Yeah,
also knew that Raleigh was going to knock him down. I actually said that in a
really.
prediction. It was like, you know what? Don't be surprised if Ryan gets knocked down here at least one time
That's
because
crazy,
Ryan is
bro.
quite frankly, very sloppy
Very chinny, bro.
and very sloppy, very inconsistent, right? And that's kind of
Mm,
what showed here. The Teofimo
mm.
Lopez Arnold I I predicted that one was going to be a decision as well. What did you think of that fight? Did you think that that fight was going to go exactly the way that it did? Considering that Teofimo Lopez is Teofimo Lopez, the A side in this, and Arnold Barbosa was coming in here. I believe he was undefeated coming in here, right?
He was, but to be honest, I thought Tio was gonna win that fight, you know. He's just too talented, bro. The way he was moving inside that ring. I mean, even though Barboza was undefeated, it was just, no one, he hasn't been in there with the experience level of someone like Teofimo Lopez. And he was just boxing to a great fight, you know. Um, yeah, Teo is definitely learned from the experience against Lomachenko and maybe Cambosis Jr. He just had the more experience and it kind of told, you know. Kind of, I kind of did expect that to be fair, but it was just a factor of Barbosa being undefeated that kind of stood out, you know.
Yeah,
But,
and we would have
but
thought that that
yeah,
would give Teofimo Lopez, a hard challenge, and it was. I mean, look, any of these guys, especially at the high level of, uh, championship level, super lightweight, and welterweight, and all of that. I mean, this is a very serious division, and these are high level guys. So there's always a chance. But yeah, Teofimo Lopez, there's a reason why he was able to do what he did against Lomachenko.
yeah, facts, bro.
This is the guy that really I mean, we've seen Lomachenko lose prior to that, especially in his pro debut, but Teofimo Lopez beat the best version of Loma. And That's what we saw last night against Arnold Barbosa Jr. Now, the uh, opening of the card, Ryato Tatsumi taking on Lavelle Whittington.
Yeah,
Surprisingly, I also predicted this fight right down to the T. I predicted this fight because I knew that there was no way Ryato was going to knock this guy out. There was no
yeah,
way. You know how this guy's career started? Lavelle, he started his first fight with a first round KO. After that, he had lost two decisions after that and one draw. So this guy knows how to fight the distance, and he's got a hard chin, and he's got a very unusual, uh, weird style to keep up with.
mm,
And Ryato being a pro, I mean, this was a hard fight for a pro debut. Do you think this is going to be the standard that TKO is going to run with now that they are having some real tough fights for their up and comers now?
yeah, bro. I just think in general, boxing's gonna be much more harder. There's no more easy fights, you know. There's not. That's a thing of the past now. So I think the best is gonna show who the best is, you know, and that's
Yeah,
what it comes down to. You know, you're gonna have to prove yourself, otherwise you're just gonna get caught out. To be honest, because there's no such thing as easy fights with Turkey involved. You know, it's
no,
either
no more, man.
yeah, it's either you are the best, as you say, or you're clearly not. And there's a bit of delusion there as well. So yeah, that's that's how boxing is. To be fair, we get delusional people as well. But hey, bro, we got to see what happens. Only time will tell.
Yeah. So that right there is the fights from last night, and I just broke down all the fights from tonight as well, me and Zane, and then also obviously UFC. We're going to react to all of that later on. But for those of you that are watching this in the future, we are actually going to react to the Canelo fight, or at least just a bit of some snippets here and there. Not the usual live stream reactions that we do, but obviously we wanted to put content on this fight and react to it as it's happening. But obviously, it's going to be a breakdown for the future. So if you're watching this right now, you're in a time traveling machine, literally, in the next couple of days, because you are now watching us from the past as we are reacting to this being made into a post reaction video. So before
Mhm.
we get to that, I'm going to break down all the UFC fights that have happened thus far up until this point, just so we can, yeah, go from there. So here we go. Right here, the first fight of the night in UFC Iowa. By the way, shout outs to Iowa. The reason why this fight is big and it's important the way that it is because obviously Iowa State is now being hosted by UFC Fight Pass. Now, I got to tell you, for somebody who grew up doing amateur wrestling, I never would have imagined in years that they would have UFC Fight Pass being involved in amateur wrestling. It's just never heard of. But nonetheless, it was a big card that they have going on here in UFC Iowa. Obviously, there's one of the Iowa wrestlers right there for Iowa State, now going to be featured in UFC Fight Pass. Now, for the European audience out there that don't know a lot about the wrestling culture or the mixed martial arts culture, Iowa State is one of the best wrestling colleges in all of the United States, right? Dan Gable came out of that program, one of the best American wrestlers ever. You ask anybody in the wrestling world, you ask Khabib who Dan Gable is, he's going to know who he is. He's part of that community and knows exactly what that guy is about and knows exactly what that program is about. So UFC is headlined in UFC Des Moines, Iowa, headlined by Corey Sandhagen. This is one of their news clips a couple of months ago before they were going to sell tickets in that first UFC event in Iowa in 25 years, headlined by
Yeah,
Sandhagen and Figueiredo also taking place the same night as right here, Canelo versus Scull. So let's get to the first fight of the evening, okay?
Yeah.
And then we're going to get back to boxing. Juliana Miller gets a unanimous decision against Ivana Petrovich. I believe this was Juliana's retirement fight. I believe, yes, she had claimed that this is going to be her retirement fight. Thomas Peterson versus Dontel Mays. This one went to a decision. Thomas Peterson used his wrestling, basically took Dontel Mays down every single round and got the decision and got the nod. Quang Lee taking on Gaston Bolonos. Sorry if I got his name wrong. Rear naked choke. Great grappling on the part of Quay. Took him down a few times. Eventually got the rear naked choke as a result of it. Gillian Roberts versus Marina Rodriguez. Marina Rodriguez loses to a TKO finish. By the way, got her back, just started riding her from the back, and then just started pounding away. Got the win, got the finish. And then how about this crazy knockout right here? Ryan Loder, Sacramento's own Ryan Loder. Asmat Bikamov knocks him out with just some hooks. He falls down. All of a sudden, starts following up, gets the finish. And then how about this? Misha Tate, Sacramento's own very Misha Tate, one of the UFC legends out there, loses to Yana Santos, formerly known as Yana Unskaya. Santos, obviously, because she's now married to the top UFC former 205 contender, Thiago Santos. But we're going to get to the main cards. But for now, let's get to Canelo versus Scull. So now that we're in the first round of Canelo versus Scull right now, what do you think, Zane? What do you see so far in the first round as we are witnessing Scull versus Canelo right now? Is this a guy that Canelo should be afraid of or concerned of? Or is this a guy that's just easy work, just another day for Canelo to get in here? What do you think?
I personally think Canelo is gonna win this fight pretty comfortably, but it's just whether he knocks him out or not. Because already you can see William Scull just going back towards the ropes.
Okay, so you can see Canelo winning this one easily, pretty much.
Yeah, I just think the mental pressure he's already starting to put on Skull. The experience is telling. And it's
And it's
only a
not
matter of time when
like he's
it
ever
starts
been
landing.
on this type of level before, from what it seems, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
Canelo right there, an overhand right that he was going for, and then there's a jab right there by Scull. So as we're covering and reacting to this round one right now, also in the UFC right now, it is Montel Jackson versus Marcos in the bantamweight division in the second round, as Marcos right now is trying to take down Jackson in the cage, forcing Jackson to play a lot of defense. And also the other fight that went down tonight was Jeremy Stevens versus Mason Jones. Now, why did they bring back Jeremy Stevens for this card? Well, obviously because he's an Iowa native. He's from that part, even though he trains right out here in California, specifically down in San Diego. Mason Jones, by the way, trained out here in Sacramento in Team Alpha Male, but comes and fights out of Wales. So Mason Jones is a former Cage Warriors champion. Jeremy Stevens was a UFC legend. By the way, you ever heard Conor McGregor say, "Who the F is that guy?" They were at a press conference one time, and Jeremy Stevens was like, "Yeah, Conor McGregor stops people and TKOs them. I knocked them the hell out and put them to sleep." And then Conor was like, "Who the F is that guy?" That's who Jeremy Stevens is. That's this guy right here. Well, tonight he just lost to Mason Jones against the Welshman Mason Jones. Just basically grinded him out the whole entire fight. Basically kept him down. Huge ground control. Jeremy Stevens couldn't get up. Look, whatever Jeremy Stevens had with the BKFC, by the way, he now fights in BKFC, but was brought back to the UFC for this one-time thing. And obviously, Conor McGregor being the owner of BKFC, they could make that happen, right? So
Yeah.
shout outs to Mason Jones for that win. And then the fight after that was Sidhi versus Cameron Smotherman. That was the fight before Montel Jackson and Daniel Marcos that's going on right now. As Canelo just ended the first round, they are now into the second. They are about to be in the second round in the corners. And yes, we are now caught up with all of our fights between Montel Jackson and Daniel Marcos going into the third round, as Canelo and Scull are going into the second round. So far, first round wins for Canelo. Going into the second round, what do you think? It's going to be the same, or it's going to be a little bit different? What do you?
Canelo's just trying to get his timing right. And I think Skull's just trying to just box, but I think Canelo's going to walk him into something, you know.
And you know what? I think Scull, he comes from a very good boxing pedigree.
Yeah,
A lot of people forget how great Cuban boxing is. I'll tell you what I do like about Cuban boxing, though. Right,
yeah,
one of the things that I do like about Cuban boxing is that they emphasize a lot on light sparring. You know
yeah,
what I mean? There's a lot of emphasis on light sparring. I kind of like that. I'm going to tell you why I like that. Now, the reason why I like that is because you really learn a lot from that, right? You
yeah,
learn a lot of valuable skills by sort of operating in that particular matter, right?
yeah,
Uh, but I think it lacks aggression. I think it lacks giving you those habits of being hyper aggressive, right? Just always being a counter fighter, always trying to wait for somebody to come punch you. Like, look at the way Scull is punching right now, right? He does a 1-2 punch, backs away, but then he's kind of waiting for Canelo to work.
yeah,
That's sort of in line with the Cuban style boxing, right? Where they sort of are like very playful with each other. And again, this is a very good style and a very effective style to learn from. The only question
yeah,
is it suitable to take on somebody who's hyper aggressive and strong the way that Canelo is?
yeah. I mean, but he's boxing all right though,
It's
so
boxing
far.
pretty good so far. And for those that are
Yeah,
following this right now, in the future, you want to synchronize right in. We are at Canelo versus Skull second round with just 1 minute left in the second round right now. And so far, Canelo is just walking him down and really not showing a lot. I'm not saying he's not showing him a lot of respect, but he's not showing any level of fear against Canelo in any capacity.
yeah. Facts, bro. I think he's scared of the power, innit? What it looks like.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in Jackson versus Marcos right now, Jackson is, I believe, still getting grinded up against the cage with Marcos with 2:44 left in the third round. So third round of Jackson and Marcos on the UFC side, and right now second round with Canelo and Skull in this undisputed championship fight. All right, and that is the end of the second round. I give the second round to Canelo
You think
once again.
so?
I think it's Canelo once again in the second round.
Hmm.
All right. So as the fight between Montel Jackson and Marcos ends in the third round, he was getting out wrestled all throughout that first few rounds or first few exchanges of that fight. But I think he manages to walk away with a win in this one. He almost got him with a submission at the end of that third round there, but obviously Marcos was still able to fight on. And yeah, that was the end of that third round right there, which I think is going to be a win for Montel Jackson. Meanwhile, here we are right now in the third round between Canelo and Scull. So what do you think so far in the third round as we are analyzing this fight? Do you think that Canelo has this in the bag at this point of the fight, or do you think that Scull is going to
Joe is
unleash
he's
something?
getting a bit comfortable, you know, because he's
Who's getting
moving around.
Scull?
Yeah, I think he's getting a little bit comfortable. But Canelo needs to do something, you know. He's not really, I don't know. He's just
Not
walking him
really
down,
pulling
but
the trigger, as they say.
yeah, yes,
Okay.
exactly that. And
You
Skull's
know what
just not
that
working him.
reminds me of? Do you remember the Bivol fight? That's kind of what it reminds me of. And by the way, Bivol is in the stance right now, so he probably remembers this particular trajectory of the fight where Canelo can easily get into this type of mode right now.
Yeah, facts, bro. Let me see Bivol.
What was that?
There's Bivol.
Oh, yeah. Just as I was speaking about him, there he is right there appearing in between the rounds getting interviewed. And that is official. Obviously, Montel Jackson just won that fight. Next fight coming is, I believe, Ponzinibbio is coming up next. Ponzinibbio. All right, so
Yeah.
round number 4 with Canelo and Scull. Still the same thing with Canelo, right? Doesn't really look as explosive, just tries to really go with the flow, whereas with Scull, he looks like he's sort of trying something a little bit different, trying to be slick, trying to move, trying to be a lot more elusive, especially with his footwork right there. And then he's starting to look a little bit confident, isn't he, in this 4th round?
Yeah, yeah,
Along with
man.
his
Canelo's looking
Charlo
like,
haircut over here. I've never seen
yeah.
him with this haircut before. Maybe he wanted to go a little bit blonde for this fight right here.
Mm.
At this point of the 4th round, I don't think Canelo is getting any connections in here. Am I right? Like, there's not a lot of connections happening here for Canelo.
It's not. He's getting frustrated.
Man, yeah, Canelo needs to do something very different here. I'm not
Yeah,
inspired by Canelo's performance right now in the 4th round. So as we are
yeah,
witnessing the last seconds of the 4th round right now, we are about to cover also Ponzinibbio versus Rodriguez. And Canelo at this point right now, the 4th round is not really doing a lot. So I don't know what's going on with Canelo, man. He needs to do something different because there's a lot to worry about if you're a Canelo.
I don't know. It looked like he's
So
running out of
coming
ideas.
off of a win against Alex Morono, obviously Daniel Rodriguez is looking to get this win against Ponzinibbio, Santiago Ponzinibbio. Shout outs to D-Rod, straight out of LA, same place as from where Ricky Fuentes is from. But yeah, speaking of which, man, not to get off topic for a little bit, but yeah, people have to understand the human side of fighting, right? It was just really heartbreaking to see Fuentes and Hamzah sort of separate ways, simply because I think that these two guys really vibe well with each other, right? So,
Mm.
but on any regard, here we are with Canelo versus Scull, 5th round. And still the same for Scull, moving around, having Canelo chase him down, and Canelo not really getting any particular patterns of sort of holding him down in any kind of way. Look at this, even right here. Canelo just stops moving his feet out of nowhere, really just trying to figure him out, trying to download his Zeta. What do you see in this fight right now with the slickness of Scull, and what do you think Canelo is trying to do? Do you think he's trying to wind up, or do you think this is just the way that he normally fights anyway?
It doesn't really look good right now for Canelo, I'm not going to lie, because he's not stopping the movement of Scull. And Skull's just outworking him. He's just, just doing much more than Canelo.
Punches thrown, 117 out of 15 landed for Scull. Alvarez, 38 and 12. So who knows? Maybe the judges would look at this from a percentage point of view, but the way that I'm looking at this, man, this Scull guy, he's really something special, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean,
Looks
look
like
at
he
this.
is. He's throwing more punches.
We may very well witness
He might be
Tim
winning this
Bradley
fight.
versus Manny Pacquiao situation. Do you remember that fight?
Yeah.
With Tim Bradley and Manny Pacquiao? I was in Stockton when that fight was happening, right? I was there with some Filipinos. I was watching it with Filipinos, by the way. And man, I'm telling you, it was crazy, bro. They were mad. They were really mad because they didn't think that Manny Pacquiao lost that fight. But you know what? If Scull was to lose, if Scull was to win this fight tonight, as the way that it's going, I would not be mad in the way that those Filipinos were mad when Manny Pacquiao lost. Because at least Manny Pacquiao, in that first Tim Bradley fight, gave a great account of himself to where it would be possible to see that Manny Pacquiao could have won that fight. With this, Canelo is not really showing a whole lot of anything. In fact, it's very similar, almost similar to that of Carlos Adames and Hamzah Sheeraz a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, kind of.
And that right there is the 5th round right there. The rounds are already going by so quickly right now. And Scull doesn't even look like he's tired whatsoever. He looks like he wants to stand up in between the corner, okay? But he's being forced to sit down. Like, you know those guys that are okay with standing up in between the rounds? That's how fresh he looks right now going into the 6th round.
Yeah, it's true, bro.
Ooh, that nice uppercut he caught him with right there in the 5th round. That was a good uppercut right there. Okay, and there's a good body shot right there that Canelo hit him with in the 5th round. All right, yeah, so 5 rounds in the books, and now we just got Canelo and Scull in the 6th round right now. Meanwhile, while that is going on in the 6th round, you got Daniel Rodriguez and Santiago Ponzinibbio fighting right now at the Wells Fargo Arena in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, to be exact. The biggest problem that I'm noticing with Canelo, at least for this fight, not necessarily in other fights, is he's not jabbing enough. Like, you notice that body that he just throwing right there. There's a jab right there. But then he's just looking for these hard hooks right to the body rather than just kind of like
start using the jab.
What was that?
You need to start using the jab more.
Yeah.
He's more of a power puncher.
And how can you be a power puncher if your opponent is constantly moving around and it's very difficult to put that power in display? You know, and that's why Scull is doing a very good job of his elusive movements right now. And speaking of elusive movements, a little good elusive movements on the part of Rodriguez and Ponzinibbio here in the first round as well.
Isn't helping, you know?
Right. He's not an activity-driven fighter, right? And I think sometimes that can be helpful, but sometimes that can also be extremely hurtful. And where it's hurtful right now is when you're dealing with an elusive style Cuban boxer in Scull right now. Now, Scull is probably thinking, man, you know what? He's doing very good for himself. His corner probably believes that. And rightfully so, they should. Rightfully so, they should. What do you think? You think that what do you think Canelo needs to do to win this fight right now? And what do you think Reynoso is trying to tell him to do right now?
You start targeting the body, you start using the jab. But obviously he's not going to be told that.
Yeah.
Now,
can you imagine? Can you imagine if Reynoso is telling him right now at the 7th round that we're in right now, hey, you're winning this fight. Oh, is that right? I'm winning this fight. And then next thing you know, a decision comes around and it's like, well, you lost. Okay, well, I guess Reynoso is fired. Oops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That'll be crazy. But I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
He's a loyalty.
I think that he is somebody that sort of makes his own decisions in that light, and I don't think he's going to let go of Reynoso for anything, whether it's a win or loss.
Yeah. He's not pulling the trigger, like you said.
Right here in the 7th round, that's all he's doing. He's just following him around, following without any follow-up shots.
That's correct, exactly.
And you know what? Perhaps maybe it is the elusive movement of Scull that makes it very difficult for Canelo to be a power puncher. And remember, styles make fights, so that could be the case right there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Rodriguez is right here at the end of the first round looking to finish Ponzinibbio, rocking him a few times over here. Good elbow on the part of Rodriguez. Canelo right now with a lackluster performance. Ponzinibbio and Rodriguez are swinging at each other at the end of the first round right now, which is something Canelo needs to attempt to do at the very least by this point of the fight.
Yeah, facts, bro. I don't think he's winning the fight, but
and he's at and he's at this rinse and repeat motion where it is as if Canelo is thinking to himself right now, well, what else is it that I can really potentially do? What else is it that I can do different? What can I do unique that is that could potentially work that wasn't working for me before?
Yeah. But, you know, I just think
another round down going into the 8th round, which by this point in the fight, I would say that Scull is winning this. Look at Scull looking really cocky. I mean, not cocky, but confident, right? Just smiling at his corner. And now it's round 2 with Santiago, Ponzinibbio, and Daniel Rodriguez right now. Think that he can beat Crawford just after this performance or what? Yeah, man.
I don't think he can. Canelo's my favorite fighter, but yeah, no. He's aging. But the footwork of Crawford is definitely going to give him problems. But I don't know how they're giving Canelo the fight.
Are you out of your mind, Chris Mannix? He has a 69.
I told you the fix is in.
By the 8th round right now, Chris Mannix has a 69-64 Canelo. But Chris Mannix is not a judge. I know a lot of people get triggered mid-fight when they see Letterman's scorecard or Chris Mannix scorecard or Carl Froch's scorecard in Sky Sports and all that, right? Like people get triggered like, oh, well, why does he think this guy's winning? But people forget they're not the judges of the specific fight that they are watching. Meanwhile, there's Daniel Rodriguez rocking Ponzinibbio again. Daniel Rodriguez just really has the number of Ponzinibbio. There's a jab by Scull. Nothing really there. Canelo still trying to walk him down even after that jab. But meanwhile, while Canelo is trying to walk him down, Canelo's not really hitting him or is not allowing himself to get hit.
Yeah, this is fucking disappointing, bro. Go to switch this off right now, bro. Oh.
Yeah. It's still the
So
8th round, though.
to watch
We
this.
see how this fight progresses in the 9th
How is
round.
it gonna rob Scull, bro? They're gonna rob him so hard.
A robbery is not out of the realm
The
of
fix is
possibility.
in.
Yeah, most definitely the fix is in on this one. Definitely the fix is in on this one.
Yeah, but they're not gonna give Scull credit for running around. But that's what they're gonna say is running around, but he's boxing.
You know who used this style against him? Do you remember the Miguel Cotto fight?
Yeah, the Cotto fight. But in that fight, Canelo was doing more. But in this fight,
you think Canelo was doing more in that fight than this fight? It seems
a little bit more. He had more success, put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, he looks like he's just aging rapidly, bro.
We also have to understand, right? This is a fight in Saudi Arabia. What time is it where you're at right now?
6 in the morning, bro.
What's that?
It's 6 in the morning, bro.
6 in the morning. So that means that in Saudi Arabia, what is your time difference in Middle Eastern countries? So 6
I'm not
a.m.
even sure, bro.
They're probably so that means they're fighting at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. in Saudi Arabia. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, look at Terrence Crawford. He looks disgusted. He's like, this is what I flew 13 hours for from New York to be dissed by Theo Lopez's family. You seen that video?
Yeah.
Where, right? I'm getting dissed by his family only to fly 13 hours just to see this. Because you know that they're bringing Crawford there to go and face off with Canelo.
Yeah.
But you know how it
But
is.
even he thinks Scull might be winning the fight. It looks like it.
Bro, listen, Canelo was to win this one. The fix is in, man. Okay? You know what I mean?
Bro.
Look, they say before, oh, how corrupt boxing is. They never really had a specific thing they can point at and say, well, this is the reason why boxing is corrupt. It's always like, well, Mayweather is probably paying these people off. They're probably doing this or this and that. But there's never really legitimate proof. Bro, listen, let me tell you something. I don't want to say it out loud, but if there are screw jobs in this era, you know why. Okay? You know the prominent reason why there would be screw jobs in this era as opposed to other eras. And I don't want to say too much, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, you know.
Based on this performance, I think Crawford beats Canelo, bro.
Yeah. Even if he was to walk away with a win on this one, which I certainly don't think that he deserves. Canelo is cooked against Crawford. Hands down, he's cooked. Especially if you're going to look like this, bro. Crawford is not going to let you get away with this type of performance. There is no way he's going to let you get away with being this, like, easy.
He's too flat-footed, bro. He's just getting outworked every single.
Man. Yeah, it really is. Like, he's really moving in there. He's not letting Canelo get close to him whatsoever. The way that he's fighting right now, Scull, this is the way that Billy Joe Saunders was envisioning how he was going to beat Canelo. Oh! Yeah. And just like that, Daniel Rodriguez just knocked out Ponzinibbio. I told you, well, that fight was a little more exciting. And look at this. As Ponzinibbio got knocked down and is man, he's stumbling away even after that knockout right there. Wow. Daniel Rodriguez coming in here with an insane knockout. Daniel Rodriguez has lost to Ian Gary, but then after that, he comes back and beats Alex Morono. Now he's back here and gets a win over the likes of Ponzinibbio. Great win, big name, and that is all she wrote from there. Speaking of that's all she wrote, we are now headed out of the 9th round and going into the 10th round, I believe. This is the 10th round now, right? But whatever round this is, and whenever you're watching this from now or in the future, more than likely you're watching this in the future, obviously. But yes, Scull is going to possibly win this by this point, but you never know. Oh, wow. Look at this. Man, his legs just gave out on him right after that. Boom. Right after that shot, he just goes down. 5-punch combination by Daniel Rodriguez right there. So, Canelo Alvarez, man, what's going on with you, bro?
Oh, this is disappointing, bro.
Canelo needs to do something different.
Clueless, doesn't he? He doesn't know what to do in there.
No.
That's credit to Scull, man. He's making it very difficult, because he keeps moving.
I feel like so dumb right now because I told you that this guy was going to get knocked down in the first round and I knew nothing about him. You know how dumb I felt? And you know what? It wasn't even...
Don't matter, bro. It happens, bro.
That I told you this, or was this on a live stream? I believe this was on a live stream that I told you this, right?
Yeah.
So now I feel even worse that I said this out loud, bro.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's okay, bro. What?
This always happens in boxing. You know, one of the things that they talked about prior to this, right? One of the things that they hinted at, they were like Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz won. They were hinting at stuff like that. And I was like thinking to myself, man, you know what? What if that's the case, man? Because remember in Ivan Drago, Rocky IV, right? You remember how Apollo Creed walked into that fight. Oh, this is easy. Oh, he's big. He's strong, but he's stiff. You know, I got this, Rock. You know what I mean? I can't change. You know, oh, well, I like the way you are too, Apollo, but, I got to change too. You know, look at that. Look at that in the ring. You know, you can't believe it, but, that was us. We can't be like that anymore. You know, like that, right? But, yeah, man.
Oh, my days, bro. This is the worst performance I've seen from Canelo.
I would say so, yeah. I would say so. What a worse performance
than this, very disappointing.
Not give it to him at all, man. You know what? Does this matchup have a rematch clause? Because if this doesn't have a rematch clause, oh boy. Scull is walking out of here as the undisputed champion. You know what? here's another thing that's crazy about this too, Zane. If Scull walks out of here as the undisputed champion, they can make other fights for him at 168. Maybe even Eubank. You could throw Eubank in there. I'm sure he'd like a shot at the undisputed championship, right? That would really big up the name of Scull. You know, put him up there with a big name like that against Chris Eubank, maybe an even lesser competition, or maybe he goes on and fights Crawford himself. Maybe Crawford won't be interested in any of the belts. Maybe he likes the name of Canelo, and maybe he'll just go after Canelo, even coming off of a loss. Right? Like, here's the thing with fighters like this, right? Fighters like him don't have to come off of a win. Conor McGregor doesn't have to come off of a win.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, what is this? Rodriguez just announced that he has a rap career coming out. You know, straight LA essay right here. Daniel Rodriguez saying that he's got a rap career going on top of his UFC career after getting that knockout against Ponzinibbio. All right, well, shout out to him. And continuing on to this UFC coverage that we got going on while we are covering Canelo and Scull. Now, after this fight with Rodriguez, up comes next is the co-main event of the evening, the highly anticipated Penn State wrestler, Bo Nickal. And there's a reason why they brought him in Iowa tonight. It is because, well, Iowa State was basically the top ops of Penn State, and that was one of his favorite schools that Bo Nickal used to love to wrestle against during his NCAA wrestling days. Well, now tonight he takes on the Dutchman, Renier, and as a co-main event, it's going to be a tough matchup for Bo Nickal, but we'll see. He had a tough matchup against Paul Craig in his last fight, barely wrestled. Let's see what he does in this fight. Meanwhile, what will Canelo do in the 11th round right now in a fight that he is clearly losing at this current moment of time? I wonder what he's going to do different here, because it doesn't look like he's doing anything different. There's a double jab right there by Scull. Man, really performing at the highest level that he can against a very big name, and really just neutralizing every game that Canelo is looking to do. Now, he's looking to corner him down. He goes and circles away. If he's looking to jab up Canelo, he sort of connects at times. But then, ooh, there's a body shot right there by Canelo. All right, so up next, Bo Nickal versus Renier Radier. 11th, there's a little bit of some frustration that's going on the part of Canelo. What was that? What was that all about? Maybe a little sign of frustration on the part of Canelo, huh? Yeah, 30 seconds left into this 11th round. He needs to do something very different.
I think Crawford will beat him now, based on this performance.
Well, here's the thing. Is there even going to be a Crawford fight? Look, there are some fighters that don't really need to win to go fight those big names. Conor McGregor is one of them, right?
I hear what you're saying.
Like, if Conor McGregor wanted to fight Islam Makhachev and he was really adamant in doing so and getting in shape for 5 rounds of a championship competition, I think the UFC would give it to him, even coming off of a loss against Dustin Poirier.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. He's one of them guys that will fight. And if he loses...
Yeah. I think Crawford will still take that fight and be even more incentivized to do so, because he's thinking to himself, you know what? This is easy work right here. That's what Terrence Crawford is seeing him. Well, what is this? Look at this. It looked like he was trying to go for a body lock right there, and then goes right into the body while he goes behind him. And then Scull is like, hey, what was that about? So 12th and final round right now, as we are witnessing Bo Nickal and Renier Radier in their preview right now. So, by the way, after the Canelo fight, we're going to talk about the Canelo fight and talk some serious crap about Canelo, whether he wins or he loses this fight, while we also cover the last two fights of the UFC as we are, as we are ready to set and look at what is going on here with Canelo. Less than 3 minutes left into the 12th round. Chris Mannix has Canelo ahead. 108 and 109. Yeah, in the 11th round. Are you seeing this on your TV screen?
I think Scull was. Yeah. Skull's out.
What is dude on, bro?
I told you the fix is in, bro.
What is dude on? Bro, is that really what he's seeing? Or are there people, in the dungeons, sort of threatening him, saying, hey, bro, listen, this direction right here, not this direction, okay? Nod here, don't nod here. Like, what is Chris Mannix talking about? 108, 109, 10 Canelo, 108 or 101 Canelo?
I can't believe it, bro.
There's a lot of power body shots, though. But Scull is sort of looking at these body shots at the end of the 12th round like, so what? This is literally nothing that you're throwing at me. And yeah, speaking of which, while Canelo is about to end the 12th round right now, Bo Nickal is about to walk into the cage. By the way, Bo Nickal is like the Canelo of MMA because he kind of has like this redhead, ginger look about him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of ironic, right? As soon as he steps out of the ring, in comes Bo Nickal into the cage, getting ready, set to do battle against Reinier RDR. The Dutchman, former ONE FC champion, comes in and signs in the UFC. Now he's got Bo Nickal, and Bo Nickal has one of the toughest fights in his career right now. This is one of his toughest fights because the way that people are projecting the future of 185 division, they're sort of seeing Bo Nickal as maybe a potential contender against Hamzah Sheeraz, who may become champion after his fight against Dricus. But that is a future fight that they are looking for. Speaking of an Ivan Drago versus Rocky type of fight, America versus Russia type of situation, that would be one of the biggest fights you could make right there, Bo Nickal and Hamzah Sheeraz together. But he has to get through this Reinier RDR guy, and that is the end of the 12th round right there. We are about to find out if Canelo actually won this fight or not. Which, by the way, me and Zane don't think otherwise. What do you think, Zane, as we wait for the decision?
I don't think he won that fight, to be honest, but they're going to give it to him. What?
I don't think so either. But we find out the official decision, and next, the breakdown of Bo Nickal versus Reinier RDR, and then the main event between Corey Sandhagen and Davison Figueiredo coming up. UFC. Boxing, world level boxing at its best right here tonight, and a great weekend of fights. And by the way, one more fight, to lead up into Cinco de Mayo, which is Inoue. Who's Inoue fighting on Sunday?
Tomorrow. Monday.
Do you know?
Monday morning.
Yeah. Who's he fighting? Do you know?
He's not really a known fighter. Ramon Cardenas.
Yeah. Probably somebody that's going to, it's set up to basically lose to Inoue anyway.
Yeah, Inoue's going to knock him out, I think.
Just like Canelo thought that he was set up to win this one, and Scull was not coming in here thinking that he was set up to lose to this guy. Now look at Mauricio Sulaiman looking at Canelo in the corner right now. But yeah, Scull did not look shook by any of this at all. If you could just tell by the face alone, you could tell that Scull had, the best of these exchanges.
Mm. Yeah, Canelo was just.
Meanwhile, here's 7-0, 7-0 Bo Nickal, or at least 7-0 at the time that we are watching this right now. Total punches landed 55, 56. Just that one punch alone that they got, that Canelo got out of him, they're going to probably try and give this to him and screw him out of it. Body landed on the body, though. He had 40. Man, yeah, they're definitely going to count that. Power shots to the head landed 22 for Scull and 8 for Canelo. Look at Canelo. What is he pleading towards the shake for right there? They're already giving him the belt? What is this? They're already giving him the belt without even announcing the winner yet. And then meanwhile, there's Scull right there bringing out his son. Yeah, man, you should be proud, man. Your dad beat Canelo, at least in our eyes. At least in our eyes. But you know what? Our eyes don't matter as much as the judges. You know, you see, it's the judges who matter the most. You know what I mean? They are the ones who matter the most here. So let's find out what this is all about. Meanwhile, Bo Nickal got the clinch real early on D. Ritter right here. D. Ritter. Sorry, it's very hard to say his name multiple times. Rainier D. Ritter. Rainier D. Ritter. All right, and we find out the decision. And the job is in. The screw job was in. They wrapped the belt around him beforehand, and that's probably indicative of the fact that the Sheikh probably read the scorecard straight away.
I told you.
That was a screw job right there. That was a screw job. I'm going to title this stream, or this whole entire video, Screw Job Canelo. Yeah, judges screw job. Meanwhile, here's Bo Nickal right here, clinching up D. Ritter. Uh-oh, what is this? He wants to do something. Here we go. What does Turkey El Sheikh have it planned right now? Does it involve Terence Crawford? Come on, Crawford. Yeah. There it is. There it is. There's Crawford right there. There's Crawford right there in the ring as we are witnessing Bo Nickal and D. Ritter clinch up for about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. They've just been in a clinch position. And Bo Nickal's really trying to get the takedown. He finally gets the takedown on D. Ritter. And they are about to announce the fight between Crawford and Terence Crawford and Canelo here with the Sheikh in the middle. What does he have? Oh, what is this? Is this a belt that he has in the case? This has to be a Ring Magazine belt. Let's take a look at this belt right here. What is this? He's got to bring out the gloves too and everything just for this belt. Oh, that's one for tomorrow. He said there's one for September. Oh, wow. Look at that old school Ring Magazine belt. It looks like the Rocky Balboa Apollo Creed belt from back in the day.
They're going to give that to Canelo. Look.
Okay, so that's for the Undisputed.
Turkey's a fan of Canelo.
What to do to face off for the fight of the century. The two great fighters in our generations, he said. And oh, wow, the 12th of September in Las Vegas. Now, how insane is that, right? Listen, there's a lot of people
Mm,
out there that make conspiracy theories about a certain country being responsible for 9/11, and guess what? In 9/12, it's going to be Crawford and Canelo in Las Vegas, which I believe is going to be in the Raiders stadium arena. So that means Crawford's moving up to super middleweight. All right. Well, as the first round between Bo Nickal and D. Ritter ends, now the fight between Canelo and Crawford has been announced. So, with that in mind, what do you say, Zane? What do you say? Because we got a lot to talk about with this now that we just
yeah, we
seen that.
do, we
First
do, we
off,
do.
Scull, I believe, won that fight. Okay. I know a lot of Canelo lovers out there are not going to like that. But even there's a lot of Canelo lovers and fans out there that may agree with that. And you're probably one of them.
Bro, I agree with that. The only reason they gave that fight to Canelo is because of the Crawford fight. Let's be honest, bro. Canelo didn't know what to do, bro. It was like, Skull was just giving him too much different looks, and he just looked like a run out of ideas.
On top of that, do you think that the time difference made a factor? Because this is the first time Canelo has ever really fought in the Middle East or in European time or any time zone that is outside of the United States.
Yeah, maybe, but still, like he was there a couple of weeks before. He should have been accumulated to the time zone.
Yeah, I agree, man. I don't think there's any excuse towards fighting in Saudi Arabia, especially when they're willing to accommodate everything for you while you're out there. Like you
Yeah,
should absolutely be like acclimated to the time zone and the weather and whatever it is that you need to be acclimated by, and especially if they give you enough time and luxury on top of that. I
mm,
mean, they put you up in a mansion while you're waiting for your fight. They bring you all the best doctors and nutritionists to, help whatever situation you got going on. I mean,
yeah,
it's really no excuse by the end of the day, right?
yeah. Bro, I should have seen this coming as well. Um, it's just so bad that the way Canelo has fallen, slipped.
Yeah.
And I think Crawford's got a very good chance of beating him, which I didn't think before this fight.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I'm not gonna lie, innit? You know what I mean? I'm an honest person, and even though
Oh,
he's my
wow.
favorite fighter, I've got to tell him how it is because he's probably thinking he won that fight comfortably, but that was
Yeah.
a very close fight. And you saw the CompuBox numbers as well.
Oh, wow. Speaking of which, Bo Nickal is hurt right now. Oh, my goodness. Bo Nickal just got finished. Bo Nickal just got finished. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Bo Nickal just got finished. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
One redhead lost in Saudi Arabia, but didn't really lose. But then in somewhere in Iowa, another redhead just lost, and that is
no
Bo
way.
Nickal. Bo Nickal just lost. And you know what's ironic about this loss that Bo Nickal just experienced right now? He used to wrestle against this particular city that he's in right now, right? They used to boo
Mm,
him because Iowa State is one of the biggest wrestling programs in the United States. And Bo wrestled in Penn State. So he was in enemy territory right here, right? And they put him here because, I mean, wow, man, they saw him get his butt whooped right here. Shout outs to
Yeah.
the Dutchman, D. Ritter. Wow, boom. Gets a knee right there, knee to the body, and then takes down Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal is all hype, man. Yo, he's all hype. Bo Nickal is all hype, man, by the end of the day. Wow. Wow. Well, there it is, man. That is the end of that fight. And on to the main event for UFC, man. So what else, man? Do you have anything to really add to this particular night, man? What do you think so far, man?
Disappointed, bro. I can't really say much more, to be honest. Like, was expecting a lot more from the Canelo Alvarez performance. And, you know, that was a much closer fight than people had it, and the way the judges had it. But we all know why that was, you know, given to Canelo
Now,
because
you
of the
said
Crawford.
earlier that he did a lot because I compare this to the Miguel Cotto fight. But you said
Yeah.
earlier that what do you call it? He actually did better in the Miguel Cotto fight than he did in this fight.
Yeah, I just think like he's throwing one shot to get Williams Cole hurt, and it's not enough because, you know, you're not hurting him with one shot, you know?
Yeah. And you know that
At
fight was
no
10
point in
years
that
ago.
fight. Yeah, exactly. At no point in that fight did, you know, Canelo look like he was hurting him. Do you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. So Crawford, uh, he has no chance against Crawford. I don't care what anybody says, man. There is no chance that this man takes Crawford down in any kind of way whatsoever. You know?
Yeah, facts, bro.
There's no chance at all.
I'm really looking forward to the Inoue fight.
Yeah. Well, there it
Hey,
is,
what do
man.
you think your
RDR.
prediction is?
Yes. Was that
What's your prediction for the Inoue fight?
the Inoue fight? He's gonna get a knockout for that one. I mean, every fight is his for the knockout. It's a showcase. He's gonna get the win. He's gonna get the knockout. And yeah,
Well, when you think it's gonna come, the knockout?
uh, I'll go with mid round 5 or 6 rounds. He'll get the finish on this one. Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, that's going to be an exciting one right there. But yeah, man. So what else, man? What else can we take away from this fight? I mean, obviously, Canelo is obviously heavily
I just,
protected, right? He's always
I
been
just say he
protected
didn't look that good.
all throughout his career. Now, even more
Mm.
protected with the Saudis in this situation. So yeah, so these were the winners tonight. Obviously, we went over that. Alakil, Verdi, Rappaport, Leon,
What did you
Munguia,
think of the performance?
and then Badu Jack. What do I think of the performance? I think Skull did great. Look, Skull may have lost tonight, at least on paper, but I'm telling you, man, a lot of these people, they really got to watch out for him. He's going to be a serious problem. And by the way, Radier just called out Sean Strickland right now. Very interesting call out after that upset victory against the overhyped Bo Nickal.
Mm. Disappointed, bro. What do you think of the Berlanga versus Hamzah Sheeraz fight?
I think that fight is going to be a very hard fight for Hamzah Sheeraz, but I think it is it's for it. Man, I could see that go to a draw. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I could see that go to a draw. Yeah. Because you know what? The way that Hamzah fights, he is very susceptible to being in those fights where they sort of have a 50-50 approach to things. You know what I mean? Where they're not going to overcommit and they're not going to like over punch, or they're not going to throw a lot of volume. So therefore, there's a lot of ambiguous interpretations that are going on within the fight. You know, all those things. That's what I see going on in that fight. So
yeah, I hear you. I hope I hope that Hamzah Sheeraz, is able to win that fight. But like you said, it's not going to be easy. It's a step up again.
no, it's definitely not going to be an easy fight for him. So
Hmm.
man.
What do you think of his new trainer?
So, was that
What do you think of his new trainer, Andy Lee?
Andy Lee? So okay, this is what I wanted to talk to you about, right? So for those of you that have stayed long enough to listen to this is what I wanted to say in regards to Andy Lee. I think that the trainer change was predicated on a decision based on somebody that was in the corner of Hamzah Sheeraz. Now, who is that exactly? Well, all right, all we got to do is take a look at the coach. Who is Andy Lee? Andy Lee is somebody who is a former WBO champion. What promoter has had the best relationship with the WBO over the years? Obviously, he's had Billy Joe Saunders, who has fought Andy Lee, right? They are all connected together, obviously, with Tyson Fury and all of that, right? With Frank Warren. So I think Frank Warren had something to say about Andy Lee becoming a new trainer. Now, I'm not saying that that was the deliberate plan of Frank Warren to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take you away from Ricky Fuentes and then put you in with Andy Lee. I just think it was one of those situations where maybe you need a new trainer, or you decided to get a new trainer. How about I bring in Andy Lee? And then Hamzah Sheeraz is probably thinking, and his dad were probably thinking, oh, well, that's brilliant. That's a brilliant move. Let's go with him. A guy that was with Tyson Fury, a guy that helped Joseph Parker become the dark horse of the heavyweight division, and now a guy who's going to work with Hamzah Sheeraz for, a possible world title run.
Yeah.
That's how they're looking at it. So
Right.
I think that's so what I'm saying is I don't think that Andy Lee is a bad or a good trainer for Hamzah Sheeraz. I just think that it's one of those situations where, all right, these are the circumstances. We need a new trainer. This is the guy that we're going to go with. But we don't know if he's going to work out. So far, we just didn't think that it was working out with the other guy, maybe because there was accountability issues, that one person is blaming one over the other. So we're just going to nip that in the bud and just bring somebody new in hopes that something different can come up out of that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's what it is, man. Hopefully, Andy Lee is able to bring something out of Hamzah that we haven't seen before, because that's what he definitely needs,
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, man, I'm really looking forward to that fight because it's a make or break sort of fight for Hamzah. If he loses, where does he go? If he wins, then obviously he's back on track for the Canelo fight.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, man, it's a make or break fight. It's a very important fight, and it's a must win. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if he loses, where does he go? Do you know what I mean?
I tell you what, man. You're right. And then at the same time, within this context of the era that we're in right now, that could also be wrong. I'm going to explain why, right? Now, the building process of what's going to happen after he potentially loses could be very difficult. Okay, that's something that you have to take into high consideration. It could be very difficult, but the era that we're in, where a lot of these guys are taking hard fights, I think that it is possible he can rebuild from this loss if he does lose. Because remember, look at Martin Bakolee, right? He was supposed to be this dark horse of the heavyweight division. Gets knocked out by Parker. After he gets knocked out by Parker, he comes back tonight, gets a draw. After he gets his draw, he still gets to come back and prove maybe he can be the dark horse of the heavyweight division. Once again, right? So that's the kind of era that we are in boxing. So I think that stepping up to a competition right now is not as detrimental as it was back in the days. Because back in the days, there was no incentive to move up this quickly. I think there's a lot of incentives for Sheeraz to move up. And he's taking that opportunity because you know what? Even if he loses this one, there could be another money fight for him in the horizon.
Yeah,
That's
of course.
what I think.
I think they're aiming for the Canelo fight, if I'll be honest with you.
You know what? I think him and Canelo would be a 50-50 fight at this point.
Yeah, facts.
What do you think? Hamzah Sheeraz and Canelo right now would be a 50-50 fight. I'm so confident in that notion.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think Hamza's jab is going to give Canelo problems if that fight happens.
Yeah.
And the reach as well, you know? Because as far as I'm concerned, he didn't cut off the ring well in this fight.
Wait, say that again?
He didn't cut off the ring, did he? Really that effectively against Scull.
No, because Scull wouldn't allow him to do so. That was the thing, isn't it? You know, he wouldn't allow him to do so. He would not allow him to get close whatsoever, right? As soon as Canelo tried to get close, he moved right away out of the way and then just, circled around him, jabbed him up. But I think the body is ultimately what won Canelo the fight. I think ultimately that's what people are set on is the fact that he was hitting him in the body.
Yeah.
And to them, that was sufficient enough, at least in the eyes of the judges, because we always say, well, what do we think or how we look at it? What we say is very objective. I mean, subjective sometimes. Sometimes there is objectivity in that. But even with our own opinions, whether they're right or wrong, ultimately it is the judge that decides whether these guys, advance to the winner's podium or not.
Yeah.
And it only takes 3 judges to do so. Just like it only takes 12 jurors to convict you in court, or at least that's how it works in in the American court system. We have like 12 jurors. They decide, and the judge basically precedes the court hearings. But yeah, in fighting, there's 3 judges, and ultimately they are the only 3 guys that really matter in that particular scenario. So yeah, man, more talk on boxing right now that we're doing while we are also covering the main event for UFC Iowa, which has the main event between Davison and Sandhagen. We're going to go over that in just a second. But for now, yeah, more on this boxing talk, because not only did Canelo really lose tonight, but his lookalike on the UFC side, Bo Nickal, he really lost tonight. Like, got finished severely bad, right? Took a knee to the body. After he took a knee to the body, he got beaten up and was ground and pounded, and it was all she wrote. And it was a shocking turn of events for a lot of people. But, yeah, man, nonetheless, great night of fights. Either way, always great night of fights. It's always appreciated when we have great nights of fights like this consecutively in a row.
Facts, bro. When we got Inoue fighting tomorrow.
What was that?
Inoue fighting tomorrow. Inoue.
Yeah. Yeah, let's take a look at Inoue's fight that he has coming up, which we will cover. If you are watching this in the future and we didn't cover this right now, we will cover this on this channel in the future. So let's check out Inoue versus Cardenas. Yeah, the Topology. Let's take a look at Topology, the most trusted source in sports right now. So where is this?
Yeah.
Oh, this is T-Mobile Arena tomorrow. Okay, so we got Inoue with the T-Mobile Arena tomorrow. Is this a Turkey El Sheikh card? I'm assuming, or no? Or
I think
is this
so,
just
yeah.
a top rank? Huh?
I think it's a Turkey Al Sheikh card.
Is it? Okay. Let's see here. Oh, okay, let me pull this up right here.
Double check. Could be wrong though.
Looks like it's a top rank. Okay, so yeah, Inoue versus Ramon Cardenas, Rafael Espinosa versus Edward Vasquez, Rohan Polanaco versus Fabian Maidana, Nikito Nakano versus Pedro Marquez. So Art Barrera, Juan Carlos Guerrera, Emiliano Vargas versus Juan Leon, Race Elam versus Rudy Garcia, Patrick O'Connor versus Marquis Smith. All right, so that's what we got going on tomorrow. So, anything else, that you have for tonight's fights? Anything that you particularly liked or didn't like? I know that the Canelo decision right there was, honestly,
Yeah,
quite shocking. To be quite honest with you,
I was shocked on that as well. I mean, that was the highlight of the night, to be honest. Obviously, I was looking for a very dominant display, but we didn't get that. No, but
No,
it is
and you
what it
can't
is.
always get that, right? But
Yeah,
again, I think it's just a matter of it's a matter of like just styles make fights, isn't it? It's really what it comes
yeah,
down to by the end of the day.
yeah. But I think it's safe to say Canelo's best days have gone past him. Like, this is definitely confirmation. You know what I mean?
I agree.
He's definitely seen better days, and I think right now Crawford has got a very good chance of beating Canelo, unless they don't rob him, because I can clearly see him outboxing Canelo if he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's another thing too that I had noticed, right? I think that's really interesting. You said that he did better in the Cotto fight, right? Which, by the way, was 10 years ago. And that's kind of what
Yeah,
I compared to with this fight, because when you look at the Cotto fight, I remember that Miguel Cotto was very much extremely elusive in his fight. Very
mm,
elusive in the way that he moved,
mm,
in the way that he got down, in the way that he tried to circle Canelo around. But you're right, Canelo did way better back then. But the difference is today, this is not back then. And it
yeah,
showed. And today,
that,
the only thing that Canelo really had going for him is that he has the backing of people that really want to see him do good
yeah,
for the bottom dollar of using his name to
yeah,
take on another big name like Terrence Crawford, who, by the way, honestly has really made a big name for himself in the recent times.
mm-hmm,
You
for
know what I
sure,
mean?
bro.
Really made a big name for himself.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
man,
think he's got a very good chance. Do you think Crawford can beat him?
I think Crawford can absolutely beat him. I think
Yeah,
Crawford can beat him quite easily and easily sound as well. I think that it's
for
easy
sure.
work for him, and nonetheless, man,
Well,
it's too easy of
do
a
you think
work for him to
the
do.
size won't make a difference?
No, I don't think that it will. Because you know what? Canelo has now proven that No matter what his size is, whether he's the bigger man or whether he's a smaller man,
he's too flat-footed, isn't
that's what it is, man.
he?
That's what it is. You see, if you're too flat-footed, sometimes that size alone just doesn't matter.
Yeah, facts. Yeah. No, you're right, man. It's not looking good for Canelo.
And not only that, the stance switching of Terrence Crawford, I think, is really going to be a problem for Canelo.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of stance switching, right now in the UFC, in the main event between Sandhagen and Figueiredo, these are two guys that are very good at stance switching. But right now, so far in the fight, they're keeping this orthodox. And right now, they're in a clinch position right now up against the fence. And speaking of fence wrestling, here's another crazy upset that happened tonight. For those of you that were tapped into UFC, it was Bo Nickal getting beat by Renier de Ridder. Now, was I surprised by that a little bit? Not really. I'm going to tell you why. Right? And this kind of correlates with a lot of things that go on in boxing as well. Experience in the fight game, especially in the pro levels of the fight game, are really seriously essential. Now, I know that Bo Nickal has a lot of big hype around him. He's 7-0. They're comparing him to Khamzat as the American Khamzat, as a guy that could potentially fight Khamzat. Well, now all of that just got derailed by de Ridder. And that is because de Ridder was a former world champion in ONE FC. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, what does that mean? He was a champion in ONE FC. Well, what exactly does it mean that Bo Nickal is a 7-0 prospect? You see, what we saw tonight was the type of fight that you would have never seen in boxing. And this is probably the reason why Zane is a little bit reluctant in allowing his boy here to fight Berlanga, right? Because this is what happens when you take on somebody who has had championship world level experience, somebody like Berlanga, somebody like de Ridder, because in the boxing sense right now, Hamzah Sheeraz is Bo Nickal. Let me make that very clear for those of you that understand boxing and MMA. Hamzah Sheeraz is Bo Nickal. The only difference is that Hamzah Sheeraz is still undefeated, and Bo Nickal just lost his undefeated streak tonight in this very same reaction video that we're doing.
Yeah.
In the very same night. So I don't like his I don't like Canelo's chances, and I'm going to be very reluctant on how I feel Hamzah Sheeraz could potentially do with Berlanga. I think it's a dangerous fight. It's a very dangerous fight, and it's no guarantee that he's going to come out the winner on that.
There's no guarantee, yeah. I agree with you. All we can do is hope he does win. You know, as a fellow Muslim brother, we wish him the best, and we'll be supporting him. But like you said, it's not a foregone conclusion.
No, it's not at all.
Do you know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, hopefully he does the job, but there's no guarantees in combat sports for sure.
Yeah.
So the hype job, Bo Nickal, has been stopped by Renier de Ridder. Am I surprised? My answer is no. I'm going to tell you why I'm not surprised. This is what happens when you have a top-level prospect in Bo Nickal, who, by the way, has a lot of hype in amateur wrestling. Nothing that really translates to pro MMA, but other people will think differently based on the hype that Bo Nickal has. He lost, and it was a big upset. I think it was a very big upset, but for real hardcore fans, I don't think this should have been a big upset. Look, he's a prospect, very experienced, 7-0. de Ridder is a former ONE FC champion, a former 2-division champion, okay, at 185 and at 205 in ONE FC. So you take a pick who you think is going to win between those two if you remove the hype of Bo Nickal prior to the fight. Now, everybody was saying Bo Nickal was going to come out here. He's going to go fight Khamzat. Him and Khamzat are going to be the next Apollo Creed versus Ivan Drago, or Rocky versus Ivan Drago, or whatever fantasy that a lot of people have for Bo Nickal. Well, the reality is this. Bo Nickal is a very, how do I say this, inexperienced fighter, very green. On top of that, very new to the game of mixed martial arts, but not new to the world of combat, in which he is a very decorated wrestler. But wrestling does win fights, but it doesn't always win fights, especially if one of those fights is against a very highly experienced mixed martial arts fighter who, by the way, is a former world champion in other organizations. Sure, De Ridder is not a world champion in the UFC. He wasn't a world champion anywhere else other than ONE FC, but he was a world champion nonetheless, and he did way more in his whole entire career than Bo Nickal ever did. And I'm sorry to say that Bo Nickal was just nothing more than a hype job. Now, on the other side of the world, on this same night, Saudi Arabia had a boxing card going on with Canelo versus Scull, in which, by the way, I really believe that Scull had won that fight, and I'm sure many boxing aficionados out there will agree with that. However, it is Canelo that is the star, and as a result of that, they were going to give him a decision. So one has to wonder, right? If De Ridder went all 3 rounds with Bo Nickal and went to a decision, would it be a possibility that perhaps maybe he would have gotten screwed over and got the nod over De Ridder? Possibly. But guess what? What did De Ridder do that Scull didn't? You know what he did? He decided, I'm going to go finish this guy. Because you know what they say, don't leave it in the hands of the judges. Scull, unfortunately, left it in the hands of the judges, and I know that's a ridiculous statement to make, but screw jobs in fighting is a real thing, and there's only one way to mitigate a screw job, and that is to finish the job. De Ridder absolutely finished the job, and it is back to the drawing board for Bo Nickal. And as for De Ridder, he calls out Sean Strickland. It's a great call out. I do believe that Sean Strickland is scheduled to fight Izzy. I believe they're working on that behind the scenes right now, but nothing really came of that, so who knows? But sky's the limit for De Ridder, whoever he wants to fight at 185, and maybe move up to 205 at some point, where he was also champion at ONE FC. But on either regard, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you on this one. Oh, and Zane, stay. I just had to record that video right there while I was doing that. So,
all right, bro.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, continue on to the topic at hand. Hold on, let me. Right, there is a win by Sandhagen right there. Sandhagen just finished. He just finished Deiveson Figueiredo right now. I believe Corey Sandhagen was in a half guard, or I'm sorry, a knee lock, some sort of knee lock position on Deiveson Figueiredo. And out of nowhere, I think something happened in the knee of Deiveson Figueiredo. I think it had something to do with the leg lock or the calf slicer that Corey Sandhagen had on. But as he had him on the leg lock, Corey Sandhagen just decided to ground and pound him, with Deiveson Figueiredo really having no answers to it. And I think all of that was just predicated on the fact that his leg gave out on him. And after he was taking those ground and pound shots, he really wasn't able to respond. And as a result, well, it was all she wrote, and that was a win for Corey Sandhagen. Now, what does this mean for Corey Sandhagen? Obviously, Corey Sandhagen was coming off of a loss against Omar Nurmagomedov. There is no shame in that. We all know that Omar Nurmagomedov had recently lost to Merab. Obviously, we know now that Merab is one of the best guys in the world, probably one of the greatest 135 fighters ever, right? With the insane cardio that he has going on. Well, now, where does this really place Corey Sandhagen? I believe where this place Corey Sandhagen is right up there on the top of the top 3 of the division. I think he's right up there with Merab. I think he's right up there with Omar Nurmagomedov, because he did go to a 5-round decision against Omar Nurmagomedov. And he's also right up there with anybody else that's in the 135 division that is looking to get a crack at that 135 title shot. But Corey really is the dark horse of this whole entire division, and he just showed it tonight. Now, look, I understand that this is a controversial win. People are going to say or try to take away from it because of the unfortunate circumstances for Davis and Figueiredo. But remember, this is very similar to that of Tom Aspinall when he lost 15 seconds against Curtis Blades in their first fight, only for Tom Aspinall to come back and beat him the second time soundly. But fighting is fighting, and things happen in fighting. And as a result of that, Corey Sandhagen did exactly what he needed to do. I know that it's unfortunate for the part of Davis and Figueiredo, but he did get him in that leg lock, and it may have caused the reason as to dehabilitate him in the way that he did, to ground and pound him so easily with that TKO. So here's Corey Sandhagen with a second round TKO, 4:08 in the second round. And it is on to the next one. Let's see who he's calling out right now. Okay, so he's saying that all his style is really good right now, top and grappling and all that. So Corey is saying he dreams of being a world champion. He wants to show how great he is. And that's really all there is to it, right? You know, Corey Sandhagen, sky's the limit for him. Really crazy way to win, but a great night of fights all throughout this weekend. It was a great night of fights. You had you had Romero and Garcia. You had Devin Haney in that same card against Ramirez. You had Teofimo Lopez against Barbosa in that same card. It was a great night of fights overall, and obviously the debut of that Japanese fighter Ryoto, which, by the way, him and Willington had a pretty good fight for two guys that are very inexperienced in their career. And as a debutant, it was a good fight for him. Obviously, the Canelo fight was also great. Scull, I really think that Canelo had lost that one, but that's neither here or there. Either way, congratulations to Corey Sandhagen, and on to the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh, I think, you know what I mean?
All right, so now let's finish off this video right here into the 2-hour mark. So now you feel that Crawford can now beat Canelo. Is that correct? You really feel that way?
Yeah, I feel like that, bro. I feel like, you know, Canelo is too flat-footed, bro.
I agree.
Understand?
Yeah.
And it's just like, how is he going to cut off the ring against Crawford? Because Crawford's a better boxer than Scull. No disrespect to Scull. You know what I mean? And like, if Crawford can stay away from the power, which it looks like he can do, because he's going to switch it and he's going to make it uncomfortable for Canelo. And, you know, Canelo's going to be chasing after him. And if you can't deter him from moving around, and Crawford's going to outbox him. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's going to come down to, do you prefer Canelo, you know, throwing shots and landing effectively? But obviously the work rate is definitely going to be with Crawford. I think Crawford's going to outland Canelo. Let's put it that way. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But will he get the decision is another story, you know? that's what we're up against. But I think Crawford's got a good chance, man. I really do.
I do too, man. I don't think there's any way that Crawford is going to lose this after what we had just seen tonight. In fact, I think what we seen tonight was only indicative of what Crawford could really do to Canelo. I just, yeah, man, I don't see how Canelo is going to win this in any kind of way.
Unfortunate, bro. Because
Yeah.
Canelo didn't look good at all, man. I was not happy at all. I'm a Canelo fan. I'm a huge Canelo fan. But yeah, no, man. His best days look like it's gone past him, you know? That Canelo that we once saw that was, you know, very energetic, very enthusiastic. It's no longer there no more, you know?
Yeah.
Even though he's an all-time great fighter, he's going to go down as 2 times undisputed. That wasn't very good, that performance, I'll be honest, you know? And it was a much closer fight than the scorecard suggested.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that Canelo definitely has a lot of work to do if he wants to get in there against against Crawford, man. It's going to be a very tough fight for him. I can't imagine how he thinks he's going to get away with a victory on this one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see it. I don't see it at all, man.
What do you think of the what did you think of the fight? Bear with me 1 second, Kyrie, yeah? Can I get 1 egg McMuffin meal, please, boy?
All right. So Zane had to do a little ordering right there. Early in the morning in the UK right now as it is 10 p.m. right here in the West Coast. So I'm going to tell you what I thought about that fight and how I think the Terrence Crawford fight is going to go, and then we'll call it quits from here on our mark. So tonight, I really didn't think that Scull lost the fight, although if the judges are looking at body shots, okay, I could understand the justification behind it. However, even with all of that, I think that there's a lot that Canelo needs to work on. And if he's going to fight Terrence Crawford, I think that it's going to be a very tough fight for Terrence Crawford. A tough fight for Canelo because Terrence Crawford is going to knock him on his butt a couple of times. And when he does, I think that he may have a hard time getting up. But if he does get up, I think that he will persevere through it because Canelo is tough and he will always be tough. But is he skillful enough? Like, I think he's tough enough to last all 12 rounds with Crawford, but I don't think that he's skilled enough to win. In other words, I think that victory by I think Canelo can gain. I don't think he can gain a victory by decision if Crawford hurts him bad enough in the way that Crawford hurt Errol Spence. What do you think?
Canelo, do you think Crawford can knock him out?
What's that?
Do you think Crawford's got a chance of knocking him out? I don't think he'll knock him out.
No, he'll knock him down. He'll knock him down. I think we'll see Canelo get knocked down in this fight. So? Yeah, but I think he'll get back up. Yeah. In my opinion, and just from based on what I've seen tonight. But remember, fighters are different in different nights. We always have to remember that, right? One fight will not always be indicative of an entire fighter's career. So we just have to keep that in mind. But yeah, that's what I think. I think there's something there. But yeah, man, on any event, you got any final thoughts? I'm gonna let you close this one out, and then we'll call it quits from here.
Yeah, bro. Honestly, there's a few things I wanted to say, man, in terms of closing out the show. I'm really looking forward to the Canelo versus Berlanga fight. You get what I'm saying? Because we don't know. Thank you, yeah. Thank you. Right. We don't know what's going to happen in that fight because, like we said, it's not a foregone conclusion that Hamzah Sheeraz is going to win that fight. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's an interesting one, and it's his first fight at 168. You know.
Yeah.
But most importantly, we're both behind him, win, lose or draw. So you know we're gonna always support him. But as someone that cares about Hamzah and stuff, you know, it's a dangerous fight. I'll be honest. So he's got to make sure he definitely wins that fight because you know, in terms of his boxing career, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities. You know, and the people are going to naturally compare the fight against Berlanga versus Hamzah Sheeraz, you know, so they're going to use that as a comparison. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very true, man. And
Yeah.
with that in mind, man, great having you in this show again. Thank you for breaking these fights down with me. It's been a great night of fights all throughout everywhere around the world, whether it was in Des Moines, Iowa, or whether it was in Saudi Arabia, or whether it was in New York City, Times Square. That sounds like a song of some sort, right? Whether it was in Des Moines, Iowa, whether it was in Saudi Arabia or New York Times Square, it was all great and everything was all fair for the most part, unless your name is Scull. But on that regard, I'll see you guys
What
in
do
the
you think?
next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Well, what was that? One more thing you were going to say?
Just wrap up the Canelo performance for me, right?
Yeah, the Canelo performance, man. Look, I think Canelo could have done better. Uh, I don't want to say that this is indicative completely of what will happen in the Crawford fight because there
Mm,
are factors that we have to consider, right? Time
mm,
difference, okay, that's an understanding that we can take into consideration, but he did have weeks to come in there and prepare. Perhaps
yeah.
maybe underestimation. That's a reality, but I have heard Canelo in saying in previous interviews leading up to this fight that he knew it was going to be a difficult fight, but nonetheless, here we are. So, on any regard, it is still the theater of the unknown. That's what combat sports is for. For everybody that's tapped in, like and subscribe. Also, hit the like button on Zayn Musa Boxing Dosages channel. It's going to be on the description uh, down below
Thank
on
you,
the
bro.
link to his channel. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe to this one. Like and share. I will see you in the next one, inshallah. MMA needs if you want to find predictions, news, and everything that deals with MMA. Shout outs to Kyrie Abu Elkir MMA, Sacramento, California represent.
That's right, Kyrie. I appreciate you, my nigga. You came in here, you was talking that shit. That's right, bro. Much love, Flo. I appreciate you for always stepping in, bro. Be safe out there. Man, my nigga Kyrie, my man Kyrie came through. He started talking that shit. Hey, here's the thing. Here's the thing. That nigga will whoop your fucking ass. You would think that nigga's all squared up and all that type of shit. Nigga come through and beat your fucking ass. Like, man, fuck you up. You will never see it coming. So for those of y'all